Her parents called me over to confront me, so I played the recording that ended their faith in their own daughter. My girlfriend's guardians texted me 2 days before Christmas, "We need to meet you. Alone." The message made my stomach drop. I thought I was about to get grilled about engagement plans, or money, or where this relationship is going. I had no idea they already knew the truth. My name is Wade, I'm 27, and I work as a data analyst for a mid-size shipping company in Pennsylvania. My days are calm, numbers, routes, reports, coffee. I like that kind of life. Predictable. Clear. Safe. That's why I fell so hard for Delaney. We met at a friend's backyard cookout in 2021. She had that bright, easy way of talking that made people lean in. She worked in a dental office, and she seemed proud of it. When I told her what I did, she didn't fake interest, she asked real questions. That mattered to me. For a long time, I believed I had found someone steady. We moved in together in early 2023. 2 bedrooms, simple place, nothing fancy. We split bills in a way that felt fair. I paid more because I earned more. Delaney filled the apartment with soft things, pillows, plants, warm lights. She talked about the future like it was a real plan. She sent wedding ideas as a joke, but it didn't feel like a joke. I wasn't scared of commitment. I just wanted it to be right. Then, around October, I started feeling like I was living beside a version of her that wouldn't look me in the eye. It wasn't one huge change. It was small cuts that added up. She smiled at her phone and turned the screen away. She started going out more, girls' nights that lasted past midnight. When I asked questions, she didn't reassure me. She attacked me. "Wade, you're being paranoid. I'm allowed to have my own life. Stop acting like a security guard." She wasn't wrong that she could go out. The problem was her tone. It wasn't, "I'm fine." It was, "How dare you ask?" The night everything shifted was December 10th, a Tuesday. Delaney said she was meeting a coworker for a drink. She left around 7 p.m. and told me she'd be home by 10 o'clock. 10 came. Then 11. Midnight. I texted once, then again. No reply. I called one time, and it went straight to voicemail. At 1 a.m. I was pacing the living room, trying to talk myself down. Maybe her phone died. Maybe she lost track of time. Maybe I was being dramatic. She walked in at 1:47. Her hair was messier than when she left. Makeup looked smudged, like she'd wiped her face too hard. And she smelled like alcohol, and something else. A sharp cologne scent that didn't belong to me. I didn't accuse her. I didn't shout. I said the simplest truth. I was worried. "You said 10. Her eyes narrowed like I had insulted her. "What, were you waiting up like a detective?" she snapped. Plans changed. We went to another place. My phone died. Can you stop being controlling? That word, controlling, hit me in a strange way. Not because I believed it. Because I knew she was using it as a shield. Like if she labeled me, she wouldn't have to explain herself. I let it drop. Not because I accepted it. Because I could feel something bigger under the surface, and I didn't want to fight in the dark. The next morning, she was cold and quiet. When I asked if she was okay, she said, "I'm fine. You're the one making this weird." That's when the fear started turning into clarity. A few days later, I did something I never wanted to do. Delaney left her phone on the kitchen counter while she showered. My hands shook when I picked it up. She had never changed her passcode. I knew it because she used the same one for everything. I told myself I would only look at one thing, just to calm my mind. But when you open a door like that, you don't control what's waiting on the other side. There was a message thread with a contact saved as one letter, no photo, no last name. Just a single character. The messages weren't friendly. They weren't casual. They were intimate in a way that made my throat tighten. And they were recent, days, not months. The night she came home late, there was a text from her, "Tonight was amazing. I can't stop thinking about you." His reply came fast, "When can I see you again?" And hers, "Soon. I'll figure it out." He doesn't suspect anything. I felt my vision blur like my brain was trying to protect me from what I was reading. I took screenshots. Not to be cruel. Not to win. To hold on to reality, because I knew what would happen if I didn't. I knew she would look me in the face and tell me I imagined it. I placed the phone back exactly where it was and sat down, staring at the wall like it might explain how 3 years could turn into this. When she walked out of the bathroom, wrapped in a towel, she smiled like nothing in the world was wrong. "You okay, babe? You look pale." I nodded, because if I opened my mouth, I didn't trust what would come out. That night, lying beside her, I didn't sleep. I just listened to her breathing and felt something inside me harden. Not hatred. Not rage. Something cleaner. A decision. Because if she was playing a game with my life, I wasn't going to lose by guessing. I was going to know. The next few days were the strangest kind of quiet, like living in a house after a storm warning, when the sky looks normal but your body won't relax. Delaney acted sweet again. Not warm. Not real. Just sweet enough to make me doubt myself. She made coffee the way I like it. She asked about my day. She even leaned into me on the couch like we were fine. And every time she did, I felt that split inside me, the part that wanted to believe her, and the part that remembered the words on her phone. I didn't confront her. Not yet. Because I knew exactly how it would go. She'd widen her eyes, act offended, accuse me of spying. Then she'd cry, just enough to make me feel guilty. And if I backed down, I'd never get the truth again. I'd only get better lies. So instead of reacting, I started documenting. Quietly. Carefully. I saved the screenshots in a hidden folder with a boring name. I wrote down dates, the Tuesday night, the time she came home, the scent that didn't belong. I didn't want to become someone suspicious and bitter. I just wanted to protect myself from being gaslit into a version of reality that wasn't true. On December 16th, I ordered a small voice-activated recorder online. Cheap, simple, nothing dramatic. It wasn't about revenge. It was about clarity. If I was going to walk away from someone I once planned a future with, I wanted to walk away with my eyes open. When it arrived, I tucked it under the passenger seat in her car, pushed far back where it wouldn't slide out. My hands were steady as I did it, which surprised me. I thought I would feel guilty. But guilt is what you feel when you've done something wrong. I felt like I was finally doing something right for myself. For 2 days, the recordings were nothing. Delaney singing along to the radio. A call with her aunt. Normal life sounds. For a moment I wondered if I'd overreacted, if I'd misread messages, if I'd been unfair. Then December 18th happened. I was sitting in my car in a grocery store parking lot, earbuds in, listening to the newest file. Delaney had just gotten into her car after work. I heard the door close, the seatbelt click, the soft sound of her keys. Her phone rang. She answered through Bluetooth. "Hey," she said, and her voice changed in an instant, soft, warm, excited. A voice I hadn't heard directed at me in weeks. A man's voice came through. Confident. Comfortable. "Hey, gorgeous. You coming over tonight?" Delaney let out a quiet laugh like the question made her feel chosen. "I can't," she said. "Wade's been weird lately. I think he's suspicious." There was a pause, then the man said, "Then end it." Delaney exhaled like she'd been waiting for him to say that. "I can't do that yet," she replied. "Not until after the holidays. His people already bought me gifts, and my guardians would freak out if I ended it right before Christmas." My stomach tightened. I kept listening, barely breathing. "And honestly," she added, "he covers most of the rent. I need to figure out my living situation first." It didn't feel like hearing betrayal. It felt like hearing myself reduced to a function. Like I wasn't a partner. I was a bridge she planned to cross until she found the next place to stand. The man's voice sharpened. "So you're stringing him along?" "It's not like that," she snapped, defensive now. "I care about Wade. I do. He's just predictable. Stable. Safe. But with you it's different. You make me feel alive." I sat frozen in my car, feeling something inside my chest go hollow. The man didn't sound impressed. "Then prove it." "I will," Delaney promised quickly. "Just give me a little more time. I need a plan." He answered, "I'm not waiting forever." "You won't have to," she said, like she was soothing him the way I used to soothe her. The call ended. I didn't cry. Not because I'm strong. Because I was numb. Like my body was protecting me until my brain could catch up. 20 minutes passed before I even realized my hands were clenched around the steering wheel. That recording changed everything. Screenshots can be argued about. Twisted. Denied. But a person's voice, when they think they're safe, tells the truth. That night, I went home and looked at Delaney sitting on our couch with her feet tucked under her, scrolling her phone like nothing had happened. She smiled at me, casual and easy. "Hey," she said. "You seem quiet. Everything okay?" I nodded, because the truth was too heavy to place on the table yet. But inside, my decision solidified into something unmovable. I wasn't going to beg. I wasn't going to yell. I wasn't going to let her rewrite what she'd done. I was going to end it cleanly. And if I could do it without a messy public scene, I would. 2 days later, I got a text from Delaney's guardian, Marla. "Hi Wade. We'd love to have you over for Christmas dinner. Let me know if you're free." It felt almost surreal. Like being invited to a play after you've already read the script. I didn't respond right away. Then on December 21st, another message came in. This one wasn't cheerful. "Wade, we really need to talk to you. Can you come by tomorrow evening? It's important. And please don't mention this to Delaney." My throat went tight. Whatever this was, they didn't want her to control the conversation. And suddenly I understood, I wasn't the only one who had discovered the truth. I texted back one word. "Okay." They replied. 6 o'clock. That night, I didn't sleep much. Not because I was afraid of what I'd hear. Because I was afraid of what I'd feel when I heard it out loud. I arrived at Marla and Dennis's house exactly at 6. Not early, not late. I sat in my car for a moment before going in, hands resting on the steering wheel, reminding myself to breathe. I wasn't here to defend myself. I wasn't here to accuse their daughter. I was here because two people who had watched me love her for years had asked to speak to me privately. That alone told me something serious was coming. Marla opened the door before I even knocked. Her smile was tight, rehearsed, the kind people use when they're trying to stay composed. She hugged me briefly, like she always did, but this time her arms felt heavier. "Come in," she said softly. Dennis was already in the living room, sitting forward on the couch, elbows on his knees. He didn't stand. He didn't smile. That was new. "Sit down, Wade," he said. Not unkindly. Just firm. I sat in the armchair across from them, the same chair I'd used every holiday for the past 3 years. It felt smaller now. Marla folded her hands together. I noticed they were trembling. "We need to talk to you about Delaney," she said. I nodded once. I didn't speak. Dennis took over. "We found out she's been seeing someone else." The words landed softly, but the meaning hit hard anyway. Not because it surprised me, but because hearing it confirmed by the people who raised her made it real in a way nothing else had. Marla's voice broke. "We saw messages on her laptop. It was open. I wasn't snooping. They were just there." Dennis shook his head slowly. "When we asked her about it, she denied everything. Said we misunderstood. Said we were overreacting." I let out a breath I hadn't realized I was holding. "I'm sorry," Marla whispered. "You didn't deserve this." That sentence alone did more for me than any apology Delaney could have given. "I didn't want to say anything without proof," Dennis continued. "But we couldn't sit through Christmas dinner pretending everything was fine. Not knowing what we know." I reached into my pocket then, slow and deliberate, and pulled out my phone. "There's something I should show you," I said. They both looked at me, confused but attentive. I played the recording. The room filled with Delaney's voice. Soft. Familiar. Then the man's voice. Confident. Detached. Then the words that stripped everything down to truth, using me for rent, waiting until after the holidays, needing a plan. Marla covered her mouth. Tears slipped down her cheeks silently. Dennis's jaw tightened, his face going red in a way I'd never seen before. When the recording ended, the house felt unbearably quiet. "That's," Marla whispered. "That's our child." Dennis stood up and turned away, pacing once, then stopping near the window. "I raised her better than this," he said, voice thick. "We raised her better than this." I didn't argue. I didn't comfort them. It wasn't my role anymore. "I wanted you to hear it from me," I said calmly. "Not because I want revenge. But because I respect you." Marla stood and came over, placing a hand on my shoulder. "Thank you for telling us," she said. "Truly. And I'm so sorry." Dennis turned back to me. "What are you going to do?" "I'm ending it," I replied. "She doesn't know yet. I wanted to talk to you first." He nodded slowly. "That's fair." We talked for another 20 minutes. They asked questions. I answered honestly but without bitterness. I didn't exaggerate. I didn't minimize. I just told the truth. When I left, Marla hugged me tightly, the kind of hug that lingers. "You're a good man," she whispered. "Please don't let this make you doubt that." I drove home feeling lighter and heavier at the same time. Lighter because the truth was finally shared. Heavier because now there was no turning back. Christmas passed quietly. Delaney went to her family's house. I stayed home. While she was gone, I packed. Not in anger. Not dramatically. Just methodically. I boxed her clothes, her shoes, the decorations she'd chosen. I stacked everything neatly by the door. When she came home on the 26th, she froze in the entryway. "What is this?" she asked, voice sharp. "You're moving out," I said calmly. She laughed, short and disbelieving. "What are you talking about?" "I know everything," I replied. "Your guardians know everything. And I'm done." Her face drained of color. "I can explain," she said quickly. "You don't understand." "I understand perfectly," I interrupted. "You were planning your exit." I just moved the timeline up. She tried to cry. When that didn't work, she tried anger. When that failed, she tried blame. I didn't engage. "You have until the end of the month," I said. After that, I changed the locks. She left 2 days later. On December 30th, the apartment was quiet again. Not empty. Quiet. A week later, Dennis texted me. He told me they'd had a long conversation with Delaney. She'd admitted everything. The man's name. The plan. The timing. Dennis apologized again, even though none of it was his fault. I didn't feel victorious. I felt free. For the first time in a long time, I trusted myself again. The days after Delaney moved out felt unreal, like I was walking through a place that looked familiar but no longer belonged to the same life. The apartment was quieter than I expected. Not the heavy, echoing silence I'd feared, but something cleaner. Honest. I could hear my own thoughts again. I didn't rush to fill the space. For the first few days, I focused on practical things. I changed passwords. Updated account access. Switched utilities fully into my name. Small acts, but each one felt like reclaiming a square inch of ground I hadn't realized I'd been giving away. At night, the memories came anyway. Not the dramatic ones. The ordinary ones. Cooking dinner together. Watching shows half attentively. Her head on my shoulder. Those were the moments that hurt the most, because they felt real, and in some ways, they were. But real moments don't excuse false intentions. I kept reminding myself of the recording. Not to punish myself, but to anchor myself in truth. A few days after New Year's, I ran into one of Delaney's friends at the grocery store. She hesitated when she saw me, then approached cautiously. "I heard what happened," she said. "I just wanted to say. I didn't know. None of us did." I nodded. "I believe you." She looked relieved. "You didn't deserve that." That sentence kept coming up. From her guardians. From mutual friends. Even from people who barely knew me. Each time, it landed differently. At first, it felt like pity. Later, it felt like validation. Eventually, it felt like something I could accept without flinching. I moved to a smaller apartment in late January. Nothing fancy. Just clean, quiet, and mine. The kind of place where you don't feel watched by old versions of yourself. I didn't rush into dating. I didn't make dramatic posts or vague statements online. I just lived. Went to work. Started running again in the mornings. Reconnected with friends I'd slowly drifted from while trying to be the reliable, accommodating partner. One night, Dennis invited me for coffee. I hesitated before going, worried it might feel awkward or painful. But it wasn't. He looked tired, older somehow. Like the last few weeks had forced him to see things he'd spent years avoiding. "She's moving in with a friend," he said after a while. "She's angry. Mostly at us." I nodded. That didn't surprise me. "She says we took your side," he continued. I met his eyes. "You took the side of truth." He exhaled slowly. "I wish we'd seen it sooner." "You saw it when it mattered," I replied. We sat in silence for a moment. "You're always welcome here," he said finally. "But I understand if you need distance." "I appreciate that," I said. And I meant it. As winter shifted toward spring, the sharpness of everything softened. Not because I forgot, but because I stopped replaying the what-ifs. The truth is, I hadn't lost 3 years. I'd learned something in them. I'd learned what it feels like to ignore your instincts. To excuse small discomforts until they stack into something unlivable. To confuse stability with safety. And I'd learned something else, too. That walking away doesn't make you cold. It makes you honest. One evening in March, I got a message from Marla. "I just wanted you to know," she wrote, "that we're proud of how you handled everything. You didn't try to hurt her. You just protected yourself. That matters. I stared at the screen for a long time before replying. Thank you, I wrote back. That means more than you know. I didn't hate Delaney. I didn't wish her harm. I just didn't make excuses for her anymore. There's a strange peace that comes when you stop asking someone to be who they already showed you they're not. I started trusting myself again. Slowly. Carefully. And that trust changed everything. By the time spring settled in for real, the story no longer felt like an open wound. It felt like a scar, something that marked me, but didn't control me. I didn't get closure in the way movies promise. There was no final dramatic conversation where everything made sense. No apology that fixed the past. What I got instead was something quieter, and strangely stronger: consistency. Days that didn't swing between tension and reassurance. Nights where my phone stayed silent and I didn't wonder why. That became the proof that I'd done the right thing. In April, I ran into Delaney by accident. A coffee shop near my office. I saw her first. She looked thinner. Tired. Not broken, just exposed, like someone who no longer had a story to hide behind. For a moment, I considered leaving. Instead, I stayed. She noticed me as she was waiting for her drink. Her eyes widened slightly, then softened into something cautious. "Hey," she said. "Hey." An awkward pause followed. The kind that used to terrify me. This time, it didn't. "I heard you moved," she said. "I did." Another pause. "I didn't expect you to handle things the way you did," she added quietly. I almost smiled, not out of spite, but recognition. That sentence said more than any apology could have. "I handled them the only way I could," I replied. She nodded slowly. "I didn't think you had it in you to walk away." There it was. The assumption. The role she'd assigned me without ever asking. "I didn't either," I said honestly. Her drink was called. She reached for it, then hesitated. "I'm sorry," she said finally. "Not just for what I did. For how I saw you." That was the closest thing to accountability I was ever going to get. "I hope things work out for you," I said. And I meant it, not because I forgave everything, but because I didn't want to carry it anymore. She nodded once, then walked away. And just like that, the chapter closed. Not with fireworks. With calm. That summer, I changed teams at work. Took on a project that pushed me harder than anything before. I started saying no without explaining myself. Started choosing rest without guilt. I dated again, not out of loneliness, but curiosity. I paid attention to how people treated me when they didn't need anything. How they responded to boundaries. How they spoke about accountability. I didn't rush. Because I wasn't afraid of being alone anymore. That was the real shift. One evening, months later, I sat on my balcony watching the city settle into dusk. Traffic humming. Windows lighting up. People living entire lives I'd never know. And I realized something simple and heavy at the same time. I hadn't been afraid of losing Delaney. I'd been afraid of losing the version of myself that believed love meant endurance. But that version was already gone. What replaced it wasn't bitterness. It was clarity. I knew now that trust isn't proven by tolerance. It's proven by mutual respect. That staying calm while being disrespected isn't strength, it's self-erasure. And that walking away doesn't make you cruel. It makes you free. Every so often, someone asks me how I stayed so composed through it all. Why I didn't explode. Why I didn't fight harder. The answer is simple. I didn't need to fight. I just stopped participating in a situation that required me to shrink. And when I did, everything that wasn't real fell apart on its own. If you're reading this and something in your life feels off, but you keep telling yourself you're overreacting, listen closer. Discomfort is information. And peace doesn't come from passing someone else's test. It comes from finally choosing yourself. Thank you for watching the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Have a nice day.